Romex wiring can be used in the store portion of a building provided it is installed in accordance with the National Electrical Code, or NEC. The NEC requires that Romex be installed within walls, ceilings, or other concealed spaces. It cannot be exposed to physical damage or moisture. In the office space above the store, Romex cannot be used. The NEC requires that exposed wiring in office spaces be installed in conduit or other approved raceways. Let's delve deeper into the specifics of Romex, also known as non-metallic sheathed cable, and its acceptable uses under the NEC, focusing on the conditions that dictate its suitability for different environments. We'll cover the key considerations for retail spaces versus office spaces, highlighting the distinct requirements that necessitate different wiring methods. First, understanding Romex itself is crucial. Romex is a type of electrical cable consisting of two or more insulated conductors and a grounding conductor, all encased in a non-metallic sheath. It's commonly used in residential and some commercial applications due to its relative ease of installation and cost-effectiveness. However, its limitations arise from its susceptibility to physical damage and its non-resistance to moisture, which is why the NEC places specific restrictions on its use. In a retail store setting, the use of Romex is permitted under certain conditions. The primary requirement is that the cable must be concealed within the building's structure. This means it needs to be installed inside walls, ceilings, or other enclosed spaces where it's protected from physical damage. For instance, running Romex behind drywall or above a suspended ceiling is generally acceptable, as these locations offer a degree of protection against impact, abrasion, and other forms of damage. However, it's essential to ensure that the installation complies with all applicable NEC guidelines. This includes proper support and securing of the cable, as well as adherence to dirtying requirements if multiple cables are bundled together. Furthermore, Romex cannot be used in areas where it's subject to moisture or corrosive substances. For example, if the retail store has a wet or damp location, such as a storage area or a portion of the building that's exposed to the elements, Romex would not be an appropriate wiring method in those areas. In such cases, other wiring methods like conduit or cable with a moisture-resistant jacket would be necessary. Secondly, it's crucial to consider the specific requirements for office spaces. The NEC typically requires that exposed wiring in office spaces be installed in conduit or other approved raceways. This is because office environments often have a higher risk of physical damage to wiring due to the presence of furniture, equipment, and foot traffic. Conduit provides a robust level of protection against impact, abrasion, and other potential hazards. There are several types of conduit that can be used in office spaces, including rigid metal conduit, electrical metallic tubing, and flexible metal conduit. The choice of conduit will depend on the specific application and the level of protection required. For example, rigid metal conduit offers the highest level of protection, while flexible metal conduit is more suitable for areas where flexibility is needed, such as connecting to lighting fixtures or equipment that may need to be moved. In addition to conduit, other approved raceways can also be used in office spaces. These may include wireways, cable trays, and surface-mounted raceways. Wireways are typically used for routing and protecting large numbers of conductors, while cable trays are suitable for supporting and organizing cables in open areas. Surface-mounted raceways are often used in retrofit applications where it's not feasible to install conduit within the walls or ceilings. Thirdly, understanding the specific NEC articles and sections that govern the installation of Romex and conduit is essential. The NEC is a comprehensive set of standards that provides detailed requirements for electrical installations. It's important to consult the latest edition of the NEC to ensure compliance with all applicable rules. For Romex installations, Article 334 covers non-metallic sheath cable types NM, NMC, and NMS. This article provides requirements for the use, installation, and construction of Romex cable. It includes information on allowable uses, limitations, ampacity, and other important considerations. For conduit installations, Article 342 covers electrical rigid metal conduit, Article 344 covers electrical metallic tubing, and Article 348 covers flexible metal conduit. These articles provide requirements for the use, installation, and construction of the respective types of conduit. They include information on allowable uses, limitations, support, and grounding. Moreover, the NEC also contains general requirements that apply to all electrical installations, regardless of the wiring method used. These requirements cover topics such as grounding, overcurrent protection, and wiring methods. It's important to be familiar with these general requirements to ensure that the electrical installation is safe and code compliant. In summary, the use of Romex in a retail store is permissible as long as it's installed within walls, ceilings, or other concealed spaces where it's protected from physical damage and moisture. In contrast, the NEC typically requires that exposed wiring in office spaces be installed in conduit or other approved raceways to provide a higher level of protection. Consulting the latest edition of the NEC and adhering to all applicable requirements is essential to ensure a safe and code-compliant electrical installation. Let's elaborate further on some specific scenarios and considerations when applying these rules in practice. Consider a situation where the retail store has a large open area with exposed ceilings. In this case, Romex could be run above the ceiling tiles, but it would need to be properly supported and secured to prevent it from sagging or being damaged. Additionally, if the ceiling space is used for air handling purposes, the NEC may require the use of plenum-rated cable, which is designed to resist the spread of fire and smoke. Another scenario involves a retail store with a concrete slab floor. In this case, Romex could be embedded in the concrete slab, but it would need to be protected from physical damage and moisture. This could be achieved by encasing the Romex in conduit or using a cable with a moisture-resistant jacket. It's also important to ensure that the Romex is not subject to excessive bending or stress during the installation process. Turning to the office space above the retail store, let's consider a situation where the office has a drop ceiling. In this case, conduit could be run above the drop ceiling to supply power to lighting fixtures and other equipment. The conduit would need to be properly supported and secured, and all connections would need to be made in approved junction boxes. If the office has exposed walls or ceilings, the conduit would need to be run along the surface of the walls or ceilings, and it would need to be securely fastened to the building structure. Alternatively, surface-mounted raceways could be used to conceal the wiring and provide a more aesthetically pleasing appearance. Furthermore, it's important to consider the specific requirements for different types of equipment and appliances. For example, if the retail store or office has appliances that require a dedicated circuit, such as a refrigerator or a computer server, the wiring for these circuits would need to be sized appropriately to handle the load. Additionally, the wiring would need to be protected by an overcurrent protection device, such as a circuit breaker or a fuse. The size of the overcurrent protection device would need to be selected based on the ampacity of the wiring and the requirements of the equipment. In addition to the NEC, there may also be local codes and regulations that govern electrical installations. It's important to check with the local authorities to determine if there are any additional requirements that need to be followed. For example, some jurisdictions may require that all electrical work be performed by a licensed electrician. Others may have specific requirements for the type of wiring methods that can be used in certain types of buildings. Another critical aspect to consider is grounding. Proper grounding is essential for electrical safety, as it helps to prevent electric shock and minimize the risk of fire. The NEC provides detailed requirements for grounding electrical systems, and it's important to follow these requirements carefully. Grounding involves connecting the electrical system to the earth through a grounding electrode, such as a ground rod or a metal water pipe. This provides a low resistance path for fault current to flow back to the source, which helps to trip the overcurrent protection device and to energize the circuit. In addition to grounding the electrical system, it's also important to ground all metal enclosures and equipment. This includes metal conduit, junction boxes, and equipment housings. Grounding these items helps to prevent them from becoming energized in the event of a fault, which could pose a shock hazard. Moreover, surge protection is another important consideration, especially in areas where there is a high risk of lightning strikes or power surges. Surge protection devices, or SPDs, are designed to protect electrical equipment from damage caused by transient voltage surges. SPD can be installed at the service entrance of a building or at individual branch circuits. They work by diverting the surge current to ground, preventing it from reaching the sensitive electronic equipment. Regular inspections and maintenance are also crucial for ensuring the continued safety and reliability of electrical systems. Electrical systems should be inspected periodically by a qualified electrician to identify any potential problems such as loose connections, damaged wiring, or overloaded circuits. Any problems that are identified should be corrected promptly to prevent them from escalating into more serious issues. In addition to inspections, regular maintenance should also be performed on electrical equipment, such as cleaning and lubricating moving parts, tightening connections, and testing safety devices. This helps to ensure that the equipment is operating properly and that it will function as intended in the event of a fault. Let's discuss some common mistakes to avoid when installing Romex and conduit. One common mistake is to overfill conduit. The NEC specifies the maximum number of conductors that can be installed in a given size of conduit. Overfilling conduit can lead to overheating and damage to the conductors, as well as making it difficult to pull the conductors through the conduit. Another common mistake is to use the wrong type of fittings. There are different types of fittings designed for different types of conduit and cable. Using the wrong type of fitting can result in a poor connection, which can lead to arcing, overheating, and even fire. It's also important to avoid damaging the insulation on the conductors. Damaged insulation can create a short circuit or a ground fault, which can pose a shock hazard. When pulling conductors through conduit, it's important to use a lubricant to prevent the insulation from being damaged. Furthermore, it's important to avoid running Romex through areas where it's subject to physical damage. For example, Romex should not be run across the floor or through doorways where it could be stepped on or damaged by equipment. In such cases, conduit or other approved raceways should be used to protect the wiring. In addition to these common mistakes, it's also important to be aware of the potential hazards associated with working with electricity. Electricity can be dangerous, and it's important to take precautions to protect yourself from electric shock. Always to energize the circuit before working on it, and use appropriate personal protective equipment, such as rubber gloves and insulated tools. If you're not comfortable working with electricity, it's best to hire a qualified electrician to do the work for you. They have the training and experience to safely and properly install electrical wiring and equipment. In conclusion, understanding the NEC requirements for Romex and conduit is essential for ensuring a safe and code-compliant electrical installation in a retail store and office space. By following the guidelines outlined in the NEC and avoiding common mistakes, you can help to protect yourself, your property, and others from the hazards of electricity. Remember to always consult the latest edition of the NEC and to check with local authorities for any additional requirements. Furthermore, if you're not comfortable working with electricity, it's best to hire a qualified electrician to do the work for you. They have the training and experience to safely and properly install electrical wiring and equipment. By taking these precautions, you can help to ensure that your electrical system is safe, reliable, and code-compliant. We should also stress the importance of ongoing education and training in the field of electrical work. The NEC is updated every 3 years, and it's important for electricians and other electrical professionals to stay up to date on the latest changes. There are many resources available for electrical education and training, including online courses, seminars, and apprenticeship programs. By investing in ongoing education and training, you can enhance your skills and knowledge, and you can help to ensure that you're providing the best possible service to your clients. Let's not forget the role of technology in modern electrical work. Advancements in technology have led to the development of new tools and equipment that can make electrical work safer and more efficient. For example, there are now devices that can detect energized circuits without having to physically touch the wires. These devices can help to prevent electric shock and make it easier to troubleshoot electrical problems. Additionally, there are now software programs that can help to design and plan electrical installations. These programs can help to ensure that the installation is code compliant and that it meets the specific needs of the client. Finally, let's emphasize the importance of communication and collaboration in electrical work. Electrical work often involves multiple trades and professionals, such as architects, engineers, and contractors. It's important to communicate effectively with these individuals to ensure that the electrical installation is properly coordinated with the other aspects of the building project. Collaboration is also essential for resolving any issues that may arise during the installation process. By working together, electrical professionals and other trades can help to ensure that the project is completed safely, efficiently, and to the satisfaction of the client. In the realm of electrical safety and code compliance, it's also crucial to address specific scenarios that might arise in a retail store with an office above. For instance, consider the installation of lighting fixtures. In the retail space, lighting is often a key element of the store's design and ambience. The NEC provides guidelines on the spacing and placement of lighting fixtures, as well as the types of fixtures that are suitable for different environments. It's important to ensure that the lighting fixtures are properly installed and grounded, and that they are protected from physical damage. In the office space, lighting is often more focused on functionality and energy efficiency. The NEC also provides guidelines for lighting in office spaces, including requirements for luminance levels and glare control. It's important to select lighting fixtures that meet these requirements and that provide a comfortable and productive working environment. Another scenario to consider is the installation of receptacles, also known as electrical outlets. In the retail space, receptacles are often used to power display equipment, point-of-sale systems, and other devices. The NEC provides guidelines on the spacing and placement of receptacles, as well as the types of receptacles that are suitable for different applications. It's important to ensure that the receptacles are properly installed and grounded, and that they are protected by ground fault circuit interrupters, or GFCIs, in areas where there is a risk of moisture. In the office space, receptacles are often used to power computers, printers, and other office equipment. The NEC also provides guidelines for receptacles in office spaces, including requirements for dedicated circuits for certain types of equipment. It's important to ensure that the receptacles are properly installed and grounded, and that they are protected by surge protection devices, or SPDs, to protect sensitive electronic equipment from power surges. In addition to lighting and receptacles, it's also important to consider the installation of other electrical equipment such as HVAC systems, fire alarm systems, and security systems. Each of these systems has its own specific requirements under the NEC, and it's important to ensure that they are properly installed and maintained. Furthermore, it's crucial to consider the impact of energy efficiency on electrical design and installation. The NEC includes provisions for energy-efficient lighting, HVAC systems, and other equipment. By incorporating energy-efficient technologies into the electrical design, you can reduce energy consumption, lower operating costs, and minimize the environmental impact of the building. Moreover, it's important to consider the future needs of the building when designing and installing the electrical system. This includes anticipating potential changes in occupancy, equipment requirements, and technology. By designing a flexible and scalable electrical system, you can ensure that the building can adapt to future needs without requiring major renovations. And remember, it's essential to maintain detailed records of the electrical installation, including drawings, specifications, and test results. These records can be valuable for troubleshooting problems, planning future modifications, and demonstrating compliance with the NEC and other applicable codes and regulations. So, to recap, remember that Romex's suitability hinges on its protection from physical damage and moisture, making concealed spaces in retail settings acceptable, while office environments demand a robustness of conduit or raceways for exposed wiring. Adhering to the NEC, consulting local codes, and prioritizing safety, grounding, and surge protection are paramount for a code-compliant and safe electrical system. And don't forget the importance of ongoing education, technological advancements, communication, and collaboration in the ever-evolving field of electrical work.